Roger Trahan, Chair of Grafton Board of Library Trustees. I call this Wednesday, November 29th, 2023 special meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Because we're hybrid, I will do a roll call to make sure that everyone is present. All right, Dana Wilson. If you could just...
Yeah, I just have to keep it on mute. There's a lot of noise around my house.
Okay. Then what I'm going to do is, and I'm hoping everyone can hear me, I'm going to sit at the end of the table here so I can see everyone. I'm kind of off to the side here.
Make sure you don't get too far from the owl.
Okay, so can everyone hear me still?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so all right, so we have Carrie Hogan.
Present.
All right, and present in the room, John Bobrisky, Aaron Vanderstein, Doug Bowman, and myself. And hold on a second, I'm just oh, is that your phone? Or?
This is my phone. It's my dog.
Second. Oh,
You got someone else's phone?
No, that's my phone.
oh.
Yes, that's my dog.
Okay, Dr. Teixeira
There you go.
just texted me reminding me that she said she had previously told me she was not able to make it. So one of the things that I did is I put what I think are going to be a couple of quick, maybe not, items that were sort of follow-up items regarding open meeting law considerations. I didn't put this particular item on the agenda for any big discussion. It was just more of a just a double back on what had primarily been Aaron's question following, I think it was on the 15th of November. There was an email that I forwarded from the Attorney General's office about serial conversations. And Aaron had talked about the distinction of what is polling, because the Attorney General's opinion talked about certain types of input were allowed outside of meetings as long as there wasn't a deliberation, but then it did not define what polling was. So what I subsequently did is I recently obtained, the Attorney General's office is careful not to give advice or direction. They give quote unquote guidance, and a lot of times that is by virtue of various opinions and rulings. So they gave me two rulings on polling situations, one regarding the MBTA and one regarding the town of South Hadley, unless it's a city. Wow. And so
Okay.
and so I simply had forwarded that to everyone. And so I don't expect that by this meeting, everyone's digested that, or we've gotten closer to an answer. But what I can do is I can resend that email and those two things, resend them to everyone to digest, to really see if we get closer to an answer of whether Aaron's question about polling was answered. Okay.
Yeah, so if I may,
Yes, please.
the goal of looking into this, I just
Yeah.
want to make that very clear,
Yeah.
was to facilitate feedback on policies,
Yes.
so that we don't have to have another policy meeting with the entire board to add their comments during a public session, right?
Right.
So initially they said feedback is likely okay, polling is not, right? So that
Right.
was kind of the question. I don't think, like you said, I don't think we've answered that yet.
Right.
So I'm okay to continue, you know, understanding that we don't have an answer quite yet. But
we may.
But
In other words, we'd have
based
to
on
read,
it.
yeah, and we'd have to read through these. So my goal tonight was to revisit and acknowledge
Yep.
that policy subcommittee is an ongoing thing, and that it's important that we get an answer and soon to facilitate these discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I would like to just add kind of a similar item, since we're talking about open meeting law.
Sure.
So in the past, and we can chat about this later on as a separate agenda item if we need to,
Right.
but the person in Debbie's role, because I understand that you're doing a lot for us as a board
Right.
to decipher open meeting law
Sure.
on these questions.
Right.
And historically, that hasn't really been the purview of the chair. I don't know if
Okay.
you did a lot of that, but we had,
No.
yeah, he was chair for 8 years and I was for 5 years.
Right.
And certainly, if you want to do that for the board, that's fantastic.
Right.
The person that we had as scribe before, we would ask a question, we would table it, she would find out and get back to us.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's something that either you want to continue to do, or,
Right.
you know, if Debbie would want to facilitate that also, to just agree to reach out to, you know, for our questions, come back to us. It's really just, you know,
Right.
I'm opening that up because that's how it was done prior.
Right.
I'm not saying we have to do it that way,
Right.
but do you have any thoughts, Debbie?
My first thought is that this is my last trustee meeting, so if you've read the
Is it?
email.
No,
I'm
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I did not.
Wait,
taking
what?
over as head of- This is my last trustee meeting. I'm taking over as head of team services on Monday.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm very
Aw.
excited. 3D printer, let's talk. But yeah, Shannon Phelan that you met is one of our library temps that came to the meeting. She's filling in the admin office. She's very, very detail oriented, right up her alley. She's filling in temporarily, and then we still have a lot of unanswered questions about how we're proceeding in January.
Yeah.
We don't know. We have a lot of unanswered questions.
Okay,
So
so don't, that's a great answer.
I'm not gonna commit
That's
anyone
okay.
else to this.
No, so I think that I'm hoping,
Yeah.
Aaron, that with these 2 additional rulings regard that actually use the word polling
Mhm.
within their detailed rulings, I'm hoping that we do get an answer, and that honestly, I never thought that over the course of time, the open meeting law would get so nuanced and detailed
Mm.
about different types of organizations and all this stuff. But I think that, I mean, as a group, whether it's me on behalf of the board or whatever, but as a group, I think we've made a concerted effort in acting in good faith to abide by things. And I can only tell you from my own conversations within Grafton and people in other towns, there are so many violations that are probably unwittingly going on
Mhm.
with serial conversations of committees and subcommittees and so forth, that I don't intend on digging. I'm hoping that this is the end of this
Yeah.
inquiry.
Yeah,
And then if anyone in the public has any issue, I can't imagine that if we're acting in good faith based on the guidance that we've received thus far, that we'd be really running afoul of anything.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly, whoever we have in, you know, Debbie's role in the future,
Right.
we may consider, you know, either partnering with them,
Right.
because it's gonna save you a lot of the time
Right.
and let you do your job as
Right.
the, you know, as the chair of the board as well.
Right.
And maybe not get so mired up in the, you know, open meeting law stuff.
Right.
So it's really, but it's your preference as a
Right.
chair.
No, I think this will probably be, if we can get,
Yeah.
I think that this will answer it and yeah, absolutely. I think we're in a unique position as far as timing in multiple roles and multiple hats that we really haven't had that discussion, but I appreciate that. Yeah, the scribe would usually be that point person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very
Alright,
good.
cool. So we can, so I will email or resend the original email that I sent on 11/15 with the additional attachments that I subsequently sent in recent days.
Mhm.
And then we can read through them and then digest them, and hopefully we will then double back about what input is permissible and what is not in between our board meetings to the policy subcommittee.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, and third item on the agenda, in-person versus Zoom or hybrid meetings. During my tenure, I came on board, as did Carrie, newly elected, in a period of transition from Zoom back to in-person meetings. And I know that our own board policies speak to just abiding by the open meeting law, which speaks to the parameters of in-person meetings, Zoom meetings, or hybrid meetings. I don't think we've really, other than by some loose consensus, agreed or voted on what would be the preferred method of moving forward with how we want to conduct the meetings. I know there are some technical challenges as we, at least on this end, witnessed, or experience trying to do the whole connection piece. Some people prefer the accessibility and the flexibility, especially if there's illness or family issues. Other people have felt that they would rather meet in person. It prevents maybe household distractions that may occur if someone's on Zoom. So I at least wanted to acknowledge that, in my opinion, I don't think we've landed on how we want to proceed.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussions because we were in pandemic for a long time doing these meetings.
Okay,
And it was always a discussion whether we were going to meet in person every week. And, for the longest time, board members didn't feel strongly about meeting in person until we more or less had to, I would say. But then they extended the executive order,
Then they extended it.
so that we could. But at that point, we'd already made a decision as a board to start meeting in person. And honestly, I think the last meeting we had, and I think I provided you some feedback,
right.
was very hard. I know everybody wanted to kind of say their piece, but it was very hard to have that discussion. And I feel like that's why it dragged on for hours on end. We started it
Right.
Because it was a mix.
because it was a mix,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
you had to address every hand in order.
Right.
And there was no discussion. There was no like, you're speaking to me right now, I'm speaking to you. Like
Right.
that sort of dialogue should happen. I feel like that happens more naturally in
Mhm.
person.
Right.
Whereas, historically, we were in pandemic mode for a long time.
Right.
We always had to do, hand. And that's fine if we want to, acknowledge everybody so they have their piece. But that sort of dialogue is hard over Zoom. So I would prefer not to have hybrid sessions, even though it's convenient. The board bylaws say as long as we have a quorum, we can meet. I love having everybody's input, even the people on Zoom. But we've had members that we hadn't seen for an entire year,
Right.
on Zoom or in person. So sometimes it just doesn't matter, even though you provide that convenience. So that's my preference.
And I'll add that for me, I can only speak to my other committee that I'm on. And I certainly do appreciate Zoom. At least on that committee, I think it was more of an issue of a public accessibility to the meeting.
Yeah.
To be able to access things remotely. It was more for the public than for the meeting members.
Yeah, it's also easy for somebody to screenshot something and use it out of context on Facebook. I just
Yeah.
want to bring that up because
Oh.
that has happened many times.
Okay.
And just is not cool.
No, I know, yeah, we've entered into the political foray. The other thing I'd mention is that a few meetings ago, Doug peeked his head in and said, I can't join the meeting, and then he had to
I
leave,
remember, yeah.
and so I was like, I'm gonna miss his
Oh, that's right.
presence.
And Yeah, I
Your
had
wife wasn't feeling
contact
well,
with
yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, he had contact with COVID, and
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, shucks, and so because it wasn't a hybrid meeting, he wasn't able to provide his input, and he had every intent, so he physically showed up, peeked his head in the room, and then said, I can't attend.
We have a remote policy.
Right.
It's not Zoom, it's like
Call in?
you can call in
Right.
if you have extenuating circumstances, which in his case,
Right.
he's healthy, but he can't be here
Right.
because his wife isn't feeling well.
There's a call in at the municipal center conference room?
I would hope so.
Okay.
But
I assume so. but-
And we could discuss it later, but I don't know if there's any more than one call in. I don't think you can have more than one person call in at a time. I think that's the capacity. of the,
Of the system.
of the
Yeah.
system
Yeah.
within the two, GCTV equipped conference rooms, so.
Yeah. Okay.
But, all right, so, I don't know if anyone else, has any comments about that. Carrie, Dana, do you have any comments about your
Yeah,
preference?
so I guess I definitely prefer to be in person. I think that I agree the discussion is, better when we are able to be in person. However, I do think that there are often, situations where, it's extremely helpful for people to be able to join via Zoom. Like, if I wasn't able to join via Zoom tonight, this is a special meeting, so it's an additional one, but I really would not have been able to attend if it wasn't via Zoom because of other commitments I have, that was, prior to this. So I think that we should all make every effort to attend in person, and I intend to do so, for as many meetings as I possibly can. But I think having the Zoom option, like sometimes you don't know ahead of time when an emergency is going to come up, especially for us that, I think all of us have families and young kid, not necessarily young kids, but have, have things that might require that we're, not able to attend in person. And, and I think that as much as possible, we want the full board to be able to meet, to be able to not only share their thoughts, but also hear what the discussion is as well.
And Dana, do you have any thoughts on the method of the meetings and such regarding Zoom versus in-person or hybrid?
I don't know, I was really happy that we were gonna be able to meet again in person, so I do think that's effective. I think that what Carrie said, I mean, there was a lot of us were pushing for that. So anyway, there were for some of the trustees, it was difficult to be in person because of the whole issue of COVID. I think it's good to have an option. Obviously, I think it's important to attend every meeting, not unless you're out of town or something has happened. So I think I see it both ways, but I think it is good to have an option in case someone really needs it. So, I mean, I just physically couldn't get there tonight, so this is helpful to me. So
I think you
thank you.
said you're in favor of hybrid then.
Yeah, but understand the value of being in person.
Yeah.
It's camaraderie, and it's also, we see each other and the talking is easier.
Right.
And I think it's good for us to engage in dialogue. So that's what I think. And
Okay.
the whole polling thing, I think it's good that we talk about that, for example, together, and we're gonna review it. Because I have to review all of that, because I'm kind of trying to figure out what that all means, and I think that's what you're saying, but it's nice to be able to talk about that in person. It's just more effective.
Okay. So, I mean, without even, I can take a vote or not, or we could just by consensus say, moving forward, we'll just keep a Zoom link as part of the ongoing meeting agendas.
I would say no, because that invites public just to jump in, which can cause, I don't mind that the public wants to join our meetings, and that's not really my point, is I think people are just gonna assume they can get on Zoom every month. And that's not the expectation. The expectation is to meet as a board,
Right.
not from your living room or your attic space, where, who knows who's privy to, what's going on in your house or distractions or, I'm sorry, that's it. I've said enough.
All right. And I mean, as far as, I don't mind either way.
Yeah.
I do think it's, even if someone doesn't join in from the public, I think it is nice to at least have an accessibility feature,
Yeah.
but
It's hard for Bill, for sure. I mean, that was very difficult for us to navigate the Zoom
Right.
and meeting in that room.
And I think if it's a case where a trustee can't make it,
Yeah.
they miss that week, they'll have to, they could listen to the
Mhm.
video recording, look at the meeting notes. I'd certainly be in favor of just being in person.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to continue to meet in person, and with any extenuating circumstances, we can reconsider as a board to provide that option.
So that assumes no Zoom option.
Right.
Okay, all right, so Aaron's made a motion.
I'll
Do I-
second. I'll
all right,
second.
So Doug seconds. Do I have any discussion on the motion?
I'll just point out that last meeting was, a special case, and I feel like this is a pretty normal and typical meeting that we're having right now, and this feels fine to me, so I'll just
Okay.
point that out.
To have the Zoom as well.
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of in favor of hybrid, just because, as Carrie and Dana were saying, today is a prime example. They can't make it here in person today, and otherwise we wouldn't have them, or we'd have to reschedule the meeting and things like that. So I think I'm also in favor of deferring to being in person if at all possible, but having
Yeah,
the hybrid
absolutely.
option, I think. Having the hybrid option gives us kind of more participation.
Any further discussion?
It does depend on what you put on the agenda that's posted for the public. If the Zoom link is posted, then the meeting has to start on
Right.
Zoom. You
Yeah.
have to set it up as.
Oh,
as a timer.
absolutely,
So-
yeah.
So that would be,
It would require
was-
us to have all of us on Zoom. Someone's computer has to be connected to every meeting, whether there's
Even if
nobody,
we're all
nobody on it
there,
or
even if
not.
we're all there, right?
I'm confused. In other words, and your motion is to do in person only.
Yeah,
And it would be a physical room without a Zoom link,
correct.
right? And I
I'm saying if
wasn't,
you post it on the, if you're offering the Zoom option, like you're saying, someone from the public can join on Zoom, that has to be set up and run by somebody during the
Right.
meeting. You
correct,
can't post that without doing it. If you post with no Zoom link and then you need one, you can always amend it up until the day of the.
Yeah.
But
right, that's true.
so if you put a Zoom link on there, you're setting yourself up for hybrid meetings every time. You
Okay.
can't post that without.
So Aaron's motion then assumes that upfront, we would post only a physical location.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I think I'm fine with that if, we still have the option to reach out to you, Roger, and say, hey, can we set up the hybrid option for this upcoming meeting?
Absolutely.
Right, if
Okay.
there's a special case or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
All right. And if something happens that afternoon, I guess people are out of luck.
Yeah.
Or unless they can somehow call in.
As long as we have a quorum, we can
Yeah.
always meet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor by roll call, Dana,
I'm not sure. I guess so. I'll go with it. Fine.
okay, so I assume that's a yes?
Yeah,
Okay, Carrie,
I see both sides, and I appreciate the option to add the Zoom if we need it, so, I will vote yes.
okay. All right, and, John,
I'll vote yes.
all right, Aaron,
Aye.
Doug,
Aye.
all right, Roger, I declare the motion carried unanimously. All right, so, for, executive session, I'll accept a motion to enter, into executive session to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than the professional competence of an individual, or to discuss the discipline or dismissal of or complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual.
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
Second?
All right, Aaron makes a motion. John seconds. Any discussion on the motion to enter into executive session? All right, hearing none. All those in favor by roll call. Dana,
aye.
Karen,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Doug.
Aye.
Roger, I declare the motion carried. We will now enter into executive session and will adjourn only, and reconvene only for the purposes of adjournment.
Okay.
So now we need
Wait,
to.
what does that mean? Do we have to jump off of Zoom or?
No, you're going to somehow stay in, but The public, if the public tries to join in, they're not gonna
Yeah.
be able to.
I have to
Okay,
admit.
we don't have
people-
anybody right now.
Yeah, you have to admit them anyway.
Yeah, there's
You
nobody
say
in
to
the
stop
waiting room.
recording, right?
Okay,
No, don't we continue to record?
No.
no.
No. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.